It says we're live.
Right. So,
Yeah, I don't really like them either.
only an hour late, we finally get to begin our D&D session. And with seemingly perfect timing, my earphones are not giving me any sound. Give me just a moment. There we go. Now that the cosmic coincidence of tech issues has been finally resolved. So, the last time we played was 2 weeks ago.
It was.
At the end of that session, several things happened. Most of which consisted of Trig and Black Tea's characters getting stupendously drunk on a bizarre concoction of various foreign substances that resulted in them literally dying. But don't worry, they got better.
Well, I mean, I had a nice near-death experience. Tia seemed to have more of the oh shit, I'm actually dead level of experience, which is, you know, always nice.
But besides that, you guys managed to put on a hell of a performance.
Of course. It's one of our
Impressed.
performances. We are always fucking good. I don't know if you noticed, we are always fucking good in performance. Something to do with absolutely broken stats for bards and, you know, etc.
Putting in excessive amounts of effort into raising your performance stats, I would hazard a guess.
Very large, yes. Yeah. Helps to have good charisma.
Well, another thing that has happened is that in addition to a performance, you guys have been given a 1 week training course, a beginner's course, if you will, on Wyvern riding.
Yes.
Right. Right.
We were going to do a series of yeah, it was like we were going to do a series of concerts over the week, and then we get access to the wyverns and their riders.
Indeed.
Mm.
That is certainly an interpretation.
Yes.
Now, during the previous 2 weeks, which I apologize for not being able to DM, I was suffering from some terrible insomnia and was basically dead to the world.
Insomnia, I heard it was massive explosive flatulence and diarrhea. And that's
No, that was the week before.
That's why I couldn't sleep.
Yeah. Explosive flatulence.
Yes. The best kind. But anyway, I discussed the possibility with you all having a week's worth of downtime activities, background happenings that your characters would attempt to pursue in order to get through the week. So far, I have had indications as to what Cardgar will be doing, which, simply put, bear training. Bear training that would most certainly have a good deal of progress put towards it due to the professional help of the professional wild predator trainers in the immediate vicinity. But besides that, I don't believe I've had any requests for specific activity happening from the rest of the pod.
I said I was going to do charity fundraising.
Yes, that is true.
Yep. And
you did say that.
Bobby... sorry, go on.
The charity fundraising, that's a pretty easy thing to do. Unless there's something specific that you want to do, I'm thinking just simply roll some dice in order to figure out how much money you've been able to raise. That, in my opinion, is what would come under the classification of spending your time making money.
Yeah, I'll help with that.
Fair enough. Bobby was going to. He's been writing songs. He has actually written and developed a song, Claw, Shell, and Flame, which tells the story of the initial Wyvern encounter, the crab / water demon thing that we encountered afterwards. Another one called Goldbreath Donheim, which is obviously the second Wyvern encounter. And then a propaganda piece called Riders of Sky and Steel, which he's done specifically for the local military camp, to kind of butter them up and basically make them think, yeah, those guys are singing about us literally, and that's a good song, we like them. And he's also written a song called Thighs in the Skies, which is particularly focused on his lust for a certain tall, blonde, leggy, booby Wyvern rider that he got arrested by in his first encounter.
Indeed.
Hoping in general to bring those into the various songs and that we're playing over the week, and earn us extra money and fame and fortune, and hopefully a good bit of Wyvern rider at the same time, and a few extra lessons with both Wyvern Rider and Wyvern.
Right, so it sounds to me like that Kiki, Coatrack, and Trig are all focusing on largely the raising of money through various means. Trig is somewhat putting a bit of focus into attempting to conquer a particular set of peaks.
I think you're getting the wrong way around. Yes, there's money, but conquering certain peaks and valleys is definitely his primary concern at the present moment, and he will not be denied.
Indeed.
Small man, large ego.
Yes. That leaves Blacktear. What is it that your ranger has been up to? This is a week's worth of... Your character has been in the village, in the town of Nordshire, and is basically just finding ways to occupy his time. What would he have been doing?
Well, I've been pretty much shooting the birds around the town, in the wilderness, how I usually like to spend my free time.
Okay. So that would basically just be practicing a profession. So, again, that comes under the classification of money making.
Good brace of pigeons. Maybe a deer?
I mean, the question is he out there making money, or is he just going, ooh, a robin, I bet I can shoot that?
That is a good question, actually.
No. I like to look for the very rare kind of game.
Owls and hawks, then.
Endangered species.
I swear, if he goes out into the forest, casts animal friendship on a unicorn or a white stag,
and then kills it.
Yeah, and fails to kill it, remember?
Oh, God, that was a fucking shit show.
Wait, what?
If memory serves, a rusty butter knife.
Yes.
What?
This was a previous game where someone who was playing a druid used animal friendship to befriend a moose. You know how big a moose is, right?
It wasn't a moose. It was a
They are large
majestic
creatures.
sylvan elk.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, big fucking elk, rather. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then instead of
Still
befriending it
dangerous.
and going, fuck this, I'm gonna have a fucking mount. I'm gonna ride around on this fucking elk. No, he attacked it with a poisoned rusty knife.
And then took
Almost
ages
beaten
to
to
maul
death.
it to death.
It took ages to maul it. Nearly died, and then brought this manky, hacked up, poisoned meat back. And goes, look, I brought food, everyone. Everyone's like, ugh.
Well, even the pelt couldn't be used. It has so many holes in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least Garo gave him a pat on the back, which of course did knock him out because he was so low on health.
Oh, why he didn't just jump on the back and go, yes, I've got a fucking amazing mount now.
I know, right?
Look at how fucking badass I am. I'm on a fucking elk.
He
Whose character
literally
was
could
this?
have.
Yeah, I know, right? Now I'm going to stab it to death with a poison knife.
This was a man that you might know as Chase.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Suddenly everything clicks into place, I presume. But yes.
Yes, so. Oh, there was
In
one
addition-
other thing, Ginger, I'd like Cargo to try and do during the week if time allows. I think someone mentioned that the reject wyverns get sent to the meat market.
Pretty much, yes. Wyvern meat is somewhat rare and valuable, and also very tasty.
We know.
So, I mean, I'm just thinking Cargo might be able to acquire some wyvern meat. Maybe we could do a fundraising barbecue. With the aim of raising enough funds to buy a derpy wyvern for Trig.
Trig, for everyone. Because Trig will pilot this. We can put Piper's Palace slapped sort of somewhere around the back of the tail, so everyone can climb in there, and then we can land, and then just fall out the back of it like the wyvern's just done a gigantic fucking dwarf and halfling shit.
The only issue with that is that Wyvern actually has a shit and it ends up in the parlour.
Well, no, if the door's closed, it won't.
we need to get ourselves like a blue wooden box that we can summon the parlour's door onto if we're doing this, because we're basically just reinventing the TARDIS at this point.
Do you think you could train wyverns to essentially defecate on command so that you could have a swarm of them like evil giant seagulls?
Hold on, are you suggesting you've trained seagulls to defecate on command?
Well, wyvern feces has its uses.
I had a whole bunch of people at the marina once in back where I used to live, convinced I'd done it with the local pigeons and ducks.
I will say that it is not impossible to have a small swarm of wyverns that have been specifically trained to follow you around and defecate on command. However, I will also say that doing so would absolutely be considered animal abuse and would probably get you arrested in certain parts of the world.
There's nothing wrong with getting our wyverns
to regressive world.
Come along with a swarm and defecate on someone's cart if we don't like them.
Why is it only illegal to the High Elf Convention?
Don't eat my plants.
Yeah,
You're more likely to you're more likely to get arrested for having illegally owned wyverns under such circumstances, I'll be honest. But anyway, with all that said, since each of you are working on raising money for various purposes, I'm going to ask each of you to roll me 10d10 and then add an additional 50 to the result. And that will be the amount of gold that each of you are able to make via your own efforts.
10d10 plus 50?
10d10 plus 50, yes.
Where's that? Is that the start roller button?
So what you need to do...
Type this in roll 20 too.
Oh,
yes.
What do I type?
You don't need the spaces between the numbers, by the way.
Oh, does it not work if there's spaces?
I don't know if it doesn't work that way, but basically...
Okay, so do I just type
like
rolling and then...
Here, I showed exactly
/R
exactly what you can do.
10d10 plus 50.
I mean, in this exact case, you could literally copy-paste what I posted, but anyway, that's the template for how you do this.
I'll
Indeed.
just copy and paste it for now.
Bobby did well.
Bobby did do well, yeah.
Okay, so...
Damn, yeah, really did.
With each of you having
Dang.
made...
None of those dice were below 6.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You won 10 coin flips.
She's not wrong. What the fuck? Huh. To be fair, none of you roll below average.
Halfling luck, dude.
Wait. No.
Wait, but I'm
The
a human.
average of a D10 is 5.5. Rolling 5
Yeah,
of
so
them
that would
would
have
have gotten you
exactly average. A
55.
couple of them, yeah. Yeah.
So Kiki and Cardgar rolled perfectly average, and everybody else did better than
Yep.
average. So, well done.
Yes, but 2 8s, 3 3 8s, 3 10s, 2 6s, a 9 and a 7 is bonkers.
Yes, it is.
But that is not the sound of me complaining about it.
Yeah. just in terms of if you view them as coin flips, that was a under 0.1% chance.
Yeah.
Each of you add the amount that you rolled to your gold value in your character sheet.
Yeah.
And I will now go through the individual circumstances for the amount that each of you made. Essig, given the nature of your character's overall disposition, I would presume that at least a chunk of that was made through extortion and other such less than legal activities.
I mean, you could say running a fake charity is less than legal, so I was helping with that.
It's a real charity. We just happen to be the beneficiaries.
It just has, yeah, slightly spurious. It's you know what? It's no different from most charities. All
Yes.
charities.
No, most charities give a like a percent to the actual cause.
Yeah, it's about 1% usually.
Yes, but that makes them 1% better than us.
But
Look, I'm
we
sure
are the
some
cause.
money
but-
is being put aside for the purposes of being given to some random halfling you guys might encounter someday.
No one
No,
mentioned
we're
this
not.
to me.
We're not giving it to halflings. This money is being raised in order to support the continuation of the culture of us Shire folk.
So halflings.
It's going into making Piper's Parlour even bigger and better, essentially.
Yes.
And making songs and travelling and
Yes.
putting
very
on
true.
shows.
So yes, that is the circumstance for the making of money for Kiki and Essig, who are both working primarily towards raising money for the charity. Cardgar, you went in with the specific intention of attempting to buy some wyvern meat and then resell it with the intention of making a profit. You will have been informed during your attempts to begin this plan that typically wyvern meat is sent off to the capital to be sold at a great upmark for various rich folk. However, because of the nature of how you have become particularly, shall we say, popular with the local townsfolk, some otherwise unnoticed cutlets and various other bits of meat that probably wouldn't be wanted to be bought by the nobles in the first place was able to be sufficiently misplaced, resulting in you getting a decent chunk of wyvern meat for free. Just so long as a few people in the actual barracks themselves are able to enjoy some of your cooking. This also goes quite far into the training of Ushanka. Bobby, that's a lot of money that you made.
It added to his rather sizable sack.
Indeed.
It's not much compared to one show.
Yeah, we've made quite a lot in some show. Yes. But it's not bad. It's not bad.
I will say a decent chunk of that money comes from basically the gathering of tips from people that you encounter after the nightly performances that you go through.
Okay.
And lastly, we get to Philip Picker. You manage to make almost the most amount of money going through the simple process of going around hunting various pest creatures that might be bothering various people in the town, as well as going further afield and hunting larger game for the purposes of being able to sell trophies and meat to the local populace.
Yep, I do like supporting my local community.
Hold on. So he's made just as much money basically by doing the, oh, excuse me, adventurer, but my cellar's full of rats. Can you please help me out? Kind of missions. Whilst we've been like fucking doing rock concerts. Damn.
Well, I have
I
been
mean,
doing other things as well.
It wouldn't be just that. It would also be like, I don't know, one of our wyverns got away from us. We need help tracking it down. Let's go to the local ranger. And things
Fair.
of that nature.
I am good at tracking things, I must say.
So, all that said, there is a couple of things that occur during the course of the week. First of all, as you have been speaking with the local wyvern, not riders, but trainers, with the intention of getting some additional information in regards to how to train Ushanka. I would like you to roll me an animal handling check with advantage.
Okay. Does anyone want to inspire me?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
There you go.
Okay.
I have marked it off.
12, 1, 8. That's a 25.
Indeed it is. That advantage doing a lot of work there.
Yep.
I will say that with a 25, not only are you able to make a considerable amount of headway with Ushanka, being able to not break that dependency on comfort eating, but at the very least managing to get to the point where you are now somewhat confident that through the use of a specific command word that I'll let you choose, you can effectively switch Ushanka into fight mode rather than flight mode, making it so that at a moment's notice you can get at least a short amount of usable battle bear out of your old pet.
Does that change his battle stats at all?
Well, Ushanka will now be a viable mount and will be able to be an effective combatant to the best of his ability. Is Ushanka a boy or a girl, by the way? I don't think we ever established that.
I don't think we ever did. I'm going to say he's a dude.
Righto. Codgar likes to ride the men. So, with that said, Codgar, in addition to this, with various bits of information that you have received from the Wyvern trainers, and with lots of note-taking and paying close attention and, really soaking up the information as best as you can, I would say that from now on, whenever you are making a animal handling check, specifically in regards to the training of a creature, the taming of a creature, you can now be considered proficient.
How do I mark that on my sheet?
Basically, we can assume that the vast majority of your animal handling checks are going to be in regards to specifically Ushanka and her training. So just consider yourself proficient. But if at any point you try to, I don't know, calm down a horse, then you will not be considered proficient for that purpose.
Okay.
That's just something we'll have to remember.
All right.
With that said, There is a scenario that occurred during the downtime. I shall lay out the scene for you. The night is entirely cloudless. There is no moon, for it is being concealed, and there is, as a result, a shocking lack of natural light in the area. Everybody has gone to sleep. It is a peaceful night. Clear skies, beautiful starlight. And within the inn in which you guys have decided to make your rest, there is quite the ruckus going on inside a particular halfling's bedroom. A post-concert coitus, one might refer to it as. Roll me a performance check, Bobby.
A performance check. Hold on.
Indeed.
Slightly concerned now. I've used up all my luck. There we are. Performance check.
This would be
See, told you.
Oh dear. Well, I will say that every session that a character gets given a point of inspiration.
Let's use that in that case. We'll take the 29 instead.
Yeah, that's just a hint better, isn't it?
A tad, yeah.
So, as you are going through the act of entertaining this pair of young human women who are really quite impressed with your abilities, you eventually get them to the point where they are completely exhausted, basically unconscious. If there was a fire in the building, that would be terrible, for they would not be able to walk sufficiently. You have thoroughly wrecked them. Well done. Deciding to take a bit of a stroll through the night air in order to clear your head and mentally prepare yourself for tomorrow's Wyvern riding lesson.
Air the cock back
You,
out, but, you know.
Yeah.
Let the steam.
You decide to take a visit to the local well to get some nice chilled water to refresh yourself. And you make your way out of your room, and just as you're about to make your way out, you hear a knocking at the door. It sounds frantic. And behind it, you hear the words, "Bobby, are you in there?
Yeah, come in.
It's me. I'm pregnant." Roll me an insight check.
Insight check. That's not bad for Bobby.
Right, and in fact, it is just high enough to be able to recognize the voice of the town bicycle that you first encountered during the initial the inauguration session in the town of Nobblesgate. You remember the one?
I do.
You hear this sound. She sounds almost like she's crying, as she's saying how in the time that you've been gone, she has gained in size, and how she's well, basically carrying what she suspects is your child.
Uh-huh.
If you need help, I know Shatter and Bestow Curse.
Don't worry, I've got some some tricks of my own.
Oh god, Bestow. I was thinking Shatter was bad enough, but just imagine what you can do with Bestow Curse.
Oh my god,
she-
shatter womb.
I cast
Jesus
Frostbar
Christ.
and fall downstairs.
That would make a big mess if you did that.
So as she's saying all this from the outside of your inn of your indoor, she quickly goes through this rambling rant of how she hasn't been with anybody since you, and that you've been the light of her life since you left, and that she's desperate to be with you again, and that she's carrying your child. Do you say anything during this, or do you just let her go on?
Oh, right. She's on the other side of a door, and I'm in a hotel room with two wenches that I've just spent all night shagging.
Yes.
Oh, I will
Open the door.
I will open the door. In my pants. In fact, no pants on. Just cock out.
As soon as you open the door,
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody there.
Okay, I will look down the hall and both directions, and look up, shrug, and shut the door. Do I need to roll anything to see if she's there?
Roll me perception check,
I'll roll a perception check.
or alternatively, investigation.
In fact, I'll roll an investigation, and can I roll an arcana straight after it, just in case someone's using some sort of magical bullshittery?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, your investigation check tells you that there's certainly nobody here by the description of the town bicycle now. And with a natural 3 raised up to a 5 regarding your arcana check, as far as you know, she wasn't proficient with magic.
Okay. I'm just going to turn around to these girls who will remain nameless for the time being because I have no interest in remembering their names. I'm going to go, "Do either of you two lasses just hear something at the door?"
They are both thoroughly unconscious.
Okay.
They don't even respond when you directly ask them this question. They're just out, like a light.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to make the spend the next 10 minutes arranging them in an amusing pose. I assume they're naked. So
Very.
Good. Yep. Yeah. Basically, I'm gonna sort of fashion them into some sort of bed with which I can lie across using boobs as pillows, kind of scenario.
That's what you're going for.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that you were going along. You're going for something more along the lines of you've disappeared and arranged them in such a fashion that it looks as though that whatever they experienced the night they did to each other.
No. I want credit where credit is due. We will have no stolen valor for those two. I want absolute credit. I just want to, play King of the Hill whilst they're asleep. Or hills.
Indeed. Well, with all of that said and done, the mystery of the disappearing fling continues.
Okay.
The disappear fling.
So, I would say that is the only major noteworthy anomaly that occurs during this week. You are able to, whoever is interested is able to get a quick crash course on the initiation of how to do wyvern riding, which, frustratingly enough, largely consists of on-the-ground training and figuring out how to, approach a wyvern without being violently lashed at with a barbed tail and things of that nature.
This has been Bobby's second sort of, focus is the wyverns and wyvern riders.
I would say during this, you will have advantage on any opportunities you may have in future to approach a wyvern with animal handling checks.
Okay.
In regards to the actual riding of the wyvern, unfortunately, at no point are you given the opportunity to fly on a wyvern, at least not as the pilot. You are given one opportunity towards the end of the week, wherein the particularly busty woman is flying the wyvern with you clinging on from behind.
Damn right.
Yep. And there is also one opportunity where you are given command of a wyvern that is explicitly not able to fly. Its wings are tied down such that even if you try to give it the command, you would not be able to, for the purposes of, getting some idea as to what it's like.
Okay.
But unfortunately, by the time the week is over, you are informed that whilst the lessons could potentially continue, it would be at least another month or two before you are able to go airborne. That said, roll me an animal handling check with advantage in order to determine the overall level of success that you've been able to have during this experience. That goes for anybody who is interested in learning to ride a wyvern, by the way, not just for Bobby.
Can I get
Okay.
a little bit of bardic inspiration on that as well?
So can
I'll have
I
mine.
can
Yeah,
I
yeah,
roll
this
an
is
animal
very good.
handling?
I'm afraid this is for anybody in the band.
So then
sorry.
I'm just hanging around.
So we all have bardic inspiration from each other, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll be 28.
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Damn. Okay, 13, because I actually rolled good on the D8.
Or 19.
28.
Got more
Okay,
kicks
so
than a sky whale.
bear in mind you all had an advantage on this roll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then I got
So-
21.
28 for Bobby, 21 for Essig, 19 for Piper, and 28 for Cardgar. Anybody who managed to get a 20 or higher are given the accolade of you're a natural at this. Cardgar is a Piper, I'm afraid, even with all of the additional schooling and other such encouragements from your friends, ultimately you are given the news that
Hold on,
it's
because
not impossible that you could be trained, but it's unlikely. There just seems to
Hold
be
on,
some kind
because-
of natural aversion.
who gave me their inspiration? Do I get the double roll?
No, I gave that to Trig.
Yep.
Do
So, do we get what? Like a wyvern riding license or something? But at the end of this,
You're not given a license, but all of you except for Piper are invited to come back and gain a license with several months' worth of intense training. You're effectively invited back to complete the course for all intents and purposes.
in the meantime, Ginger, are we allowed to ride smaller wyverns as long as we put L plates on it?
You are told that you can ride any wild wyvern that you can convince to let you ride it.
Neat. Hey, Trig, shall we go reject wyvern shopping?
Oh, I mean, sure, but I mean, where do you buy reject wyverns?
Local meat market, I imagine.
You are correct.
So what? We just buy
although
lots
it's not-
lots of wyvern meat and then find a nice friendly necromancer to stitch it all back
If
together.
we get there early enough, you know.
part of the training barracks has a breeding program, and there is a selection of wyverns that go through an initial an initial phase of training, if you will. But not all of them show the sufficient levels of confidence and obedience necessary to be able to be military trained animals. Ones that go through this process usually end up being rejected and sent off to Meadowburn for butchering and turning into fresh wyvern steaks. However, there is currently one young wyvern which is considered too hostile to be able to be considered for training.
Too hostile.
It is. Yes, it lashes out at its riders. It has a tendency to. Well, so far, only one person has actually been able to ride it, and even she wasn't able to make it fly.
Huh. She?
Yes, indeed.
I see. Well, in that case, in the insane attempt to impress said female wyvern rider, Bobby is going to try and find a way of giving that a go, and also having a go with the wyvern at riding it. That is, I suppose with the rider as well. But actually try and tame. No, taming doesn't work either. It works for both. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, over the course of the time that you've been here, you would have learned the name of this particular female wyvern rider. She is an Amelia Whitaker. And you also find out, over the course of various bits of
Amelia with
conversation...
an E or with an I?
I shall copy and paste the name into the Discord chat for you.
With an A, Amelia. Okay.
You also find out that she is part of a noble household who are local to the city of Meadowburn. It doesn't take much for you to be able to put two and two together and come to the realization that, yeah, she's only here because of her social status, and it just so happens to be the case that she is also very good at training and riding wyverns.
Uh-huh. Okay, does she fancy a bit of strange?
Well, I'm not going to flirt with you.
No.
So roll me a dice.
No.
My God.
Yeah, indeed. Roll the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what dice shall I roll for this one? Is this persuasion, performance?
Well, this is one of those
Deception?
circumstances where a variety of options are available to you. Describe to me what you are doing in addition to the rolling of the dice.
I'm just
Depending on what you do.
Right. Okay, it's going to be a mixture of the classic. Try to find a ways of being in and around her, definitely in and around her as often as possible. Flirty, type sort of things. Outrageously, stupidly brave attempts at doing things, and generally,
Trying to make yourself seem as impressive as physically possible for
Yes,
somebody
but,
of a 3-foot stature.
absolutely. But at the same time, in a kind of I just fucking do this kind of way. I'm not trying to. I'm going to be the most fucking alpha person in the room and work out the best way of sitting at a table and opening the bottle so that the bottle doesn't serve me and so the bottle serves me and none of that shit. I'm just going to be fucking casual. Yeah, I just fucking rock at this. And by the way, babes, you should fucking check some of this out because you ain't going to get the opportunity again once I leave. And you're gonna fucking regret that at some point. You're gonna be hearing my music in the future and going, damn, I had the opportunity to let that rock my world and didn't, and I feel that my life is not as complete as it could be. That is the general, air
Okay.
of confidence that I want to exhume. Me.
I'm going to say you should pick a dice roll based on what you've just described to me.
Uh-huh.
And I will also give you an additional piece of information.
Okay.
You would have been able to tell during the time where you have been training with the Wyvern Riders that not only has she been impressed by your abilities, but she has seemingly volunteered to train you going forwards
Okay.
with seemingly very little aversion to the idea of spending additional time with you and Cardgar in the riding of wyverns, as by far the two most promising of the lot of you.
Groovy. So a performance roll then.
That could do it. Oof.
Fucking
It's
6.
not as high as what it would normally be.
I
really
suppose
isn't.
you could trick get a bardic inspiration. I'll be wingmanning for you.
Absolutely appreciated.
That makes
Thank you, sir.
sense. Wingmanning.
I will take the 6 there. So
Brings you
would
up to a
be
22.
22. Yeah.
You are able to convince her to go on a date. But cutting things to the chase, if you attempt to bed her, she doesn't outright reject it.
No. Bobby does not on a first date. Not with someone who is of noble type of thing. Those ones those you have to fish in a little. Yeah, you have to let them go. I'm just gonna fucking throw myself at you if you don't fucking make the move soon. That's how you do it with them. You make the door. Make sure the door is open. They know the door is open. I'm ready and willing, but you know when she's ready.
You get the distinct impression from this woman, this Amelia Whitaker, that she is strictly profession first, and she's very wedded to the idea of upholding herself to her noble stature. And whilst she doesn't say no, she basically invites you to come back and continue pursuing her in not so many words.
Uh-huh. And a few girls like that as well. They're fucking nightmares. Cool. Okay, well, we'll still keep on playing that game. We haven't left town yet.
I will say that is the amount of progress that you're able to make with Amelia during the week that you are here.
It's a week, you know. That's fair. Besides, I've got the rest of the town to work my way through, of which I seem to be doing that already. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
2 at a time.
There is a variety of women that you end up being able to convince to join you at a dark and secluded room. Some not so secluded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the real question is, does anybody attempt to make a move on either Judy, the owner of the inn, or Elizabeth, the wife of the owner of the crown? No one? All right, fair enough. I guess the two most openly slutty women in town are basically left to their own devices. Say that again, Kiki.
Probably riddled with diseases.
I'm enjoying nature too much.
Don't Don't say that when we've just been talking about what we have. People will get the wrong idea.
Hey,
By the way,
Ginger,
yes.
that untrainable wyvern. I'm just curious. Would this spell help with that?
Assuming you it doesn't have a saving throw, does it? Let me take a look at the intelligence of a wyvern. It might be higher than 4. Give me a moment.
Well, if it's part dragon, I would suppose.
There are dragons, and then there are things that are not quite a dragon.
Like flamingos.
Indeed.
But isn't a wyvern dragon adjacent?
It is.
Very.
And in fact, I have just discovered that a wyvern's intelligence is 5. So this exceptionally vicious wyvern that you attempt to interact with, do you attempt to cast Animal Friendship on it?
Does it look like it? As we were saying earlier about reject and derpy wyverns, does it look like it's dumber than the average wyvern?
Go with it. Go with it, because if it's aggressive, it might be actually smarter than the average wyvern.
Possibly.
I know a lot of aggressive people are actually quite bright.
Yeah, but the reason I'm asking Trig is the spell fails if their int is too high.
Well, it's only a spell slot.
Yeah, and it's got a range of 30 feet, so I don't actually have to put myself at risk to do it.
Indeed.
So I guess I'll cast it, but I'm also going to be using my animal handling on this. Just out of curiosity, I know you said earlier that the proficiency is only for Shenka, but given that I was training with the wyvern trainers, does it extend to wyverns as well?
Not in all cases, but in this specific case, yes.
So I'm going to reading what the spell says with its component. I'm approaching it with food, and making whatever the trainer said are the appropriate body language and sounds to put it at ease, I suppose. So I'll give that a go. Plus anyone who wants to inspire me.
Yep, I'll give you an inspiration.
Nice, thank you. That is a 21.
It is a 21.
As you cast the Animal Friendship spell, you find that the spell fails, coming to the conclusion that clearly this is a creature of higher intelligence than what the spell's power is able to permit. However, not deterred by the creature's apparently higher than average intelligence for a beast, you instead attempt to approach it in a more naturalistic fashion, in a way that would imply that you are attempting to approach it without the intention of harming it. And you are indeed able to approach it. Roll me an insight check, everybody except Cardgar.
Insight.
That's a shame. Insight's one of my best skills.
I know,
It's
but
not
this is
really
for some.
mine.
This is specifically for noticing something that that Cardgar wouldn't be currently in the opportunity to notice.
I do want to do some. Once you realise how that's going, there is something I want to try with this particular wyvern. Once I've gotten to meet it, I would like to use sending a number of times on it over a couple of days to start to talk to it.
Right.
Sending allows me a short message of 25 words or less to a creature to which you are familiar. The creature hears the message in its head, recognizes you as the sender, if it knows you, and can answer in a like manner immediately. The spell enables creatures with intelligence scores of at least 1 to understand the meaning of your message. You can send the message across any distance and even to other planes of existence. But if the target is on a different plane to you, there is a 5% chance that it won't arrive.
Which, by the way, you can achieve by rolling a d20 and seeing if it rolls as a 1.
Yeah. So, over a period of days, I'm going to send messages. I can send 3 of those per day, per long rest.
Okay, well,
along...
before you go through with that,
Yep.
let's finish off what we're doing with cargo here.
Sorry, of course.
You are able to see anybody who is watching as Cardgar slowly approaches this wyvern that is currently bound in such a way that its head and tail are shackled, not to the ground, but to with a restricted mobility, such that it doesn't have the ability to just immediately attack someone. And Cardgar, as you approach this creature, you notice that its eyes shift to stare at you, watching carefully as you approach, but not taking any overtly aggressive action. When you get to within about 5 feet of it, it appears to be almost staring into your soul. What do you do when you approach touching range?
So how close do you say I am now?
I would say that you've been able to get to within about 5 feet of it without it taking any overtly aggressive action. In fact, it has been very, very calm and still, staring at you, almost unblinking.
I will. The food, whatever morsel of food I'm offering it, I will place it on the ground in front of it and then back away 3 steps.
As you go to place the food, you notice that its eyes shift from staring at your face to staring at the food for a moment. But otherwise, it doesn't take any other actions.
All right, well, I've put the food down, I've backed away. I will then wait for a moment. If nothing happens, I will sit down and use Song of Creation to summon a book to read. Keeping one eye on it, but basically not showing any aggressive body language.
How long do you maintain this position of just sitting in the immediate vicinity of it?
I'm not going anywhere in a rush, so a couple hours.
Okay. For the first approximate hour that you are there, it continues to stand there on its legs, its head and tail somewhat restricted in movement, but still continuing to keep a steely gaze on your position. You get the distinct impression that it really thinks you're up to something. But as you continue to persist, just making sure that it's aware that you are aware of it and reading through your book and so on and so forth, it eventually changes its overall body language towards you. Specifically in that instead of standing and staring at you, it lies down whilst continuing to stare at you.
I'll continue to be patient. I assume it hasn't touched the food yet.
It has not. And I would say that it was pretty easy to make sure that it was within reach of its head. But it just stares at you the whole time. and it would keep that going for a while too.
I'll say Cargo will continue for some total of 4 hours total, and if it's still not done anything by then, he'll casually close his book because just before it's gonna, disappear anyway. And again, careful with his body language, will casually leave the pen.
Right up. For a decent amount of the time that you were in that thing's pen, it would have been there would have been an audience of sorts keeping an eye on the situation. But when you got to the point of just sitting down with a book, and then sitting there for hours, yeah, pretty much everybody left. A few people trickle in just to make sure that you're not dead, but then leave again. One thing that you will notice is towards the end of this 4-hour period, you look up from your book and notice that its eyes are closed.
I guess that's progress.
I'm going to use a different technique with this thing.
Okay, so right, so do you send the very same message each time, or do you change it up a little?
I'm going to do it first, 3 times a day, as often as I can. I'm going to, the moment I know about it, so when do we find out about it? How many days have we got during the week after we find out about this thing? And
I would say, given Cardgar's intention of finding something to butcher and sell, the Wyvern is made aware of your party's presence pretty much on day 1.
okay, in that case, I'm going to spend all 3 of my spell slots per day on this. I'm going to go up to it, lock eyes with it, look down, close my eyes, send the message, wait for a reply, look back at it afterwards if it doesn't reply, and walk away 3 times a day, every day until I start getting a reply, and then begin a conversation with it as much as I can.
Are you telling anyone else that's what you're doing? Because Cargar's going to be repeating the food and book thing as well.
Oh no, I will let Cardgar know. In fact, I will tell him, look, I've got an idea. This thing's smart. Your animal friendship didn't work with it because it's smart. I think we talk to it. I think we treat it as a friend rather than as a pet or as a brute. And so I'm going to simply say I'm friend. You mean you no harm? Let me help you be free. Work with me. Fly with me. And see if it answers. It can answer in a manner that I will understand. It doesn't say it can speak languages, it says it can understand the meaning of the message. So it knows what I'm saying.
Well, maintaining this action of 3 times a day, whenever you can do so in person, you do, but I assume if you're not able to be there in person, that you just don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You send it from a distance.
Yep.
By the time it gets to the 3rd day, you get a response.
Okay.
Up until that point, the thing has been entirely silent with you. And you know that it can respond, but you know it has been choosing not to. And the response that you get on the 3rd day is interesting. By the nature of the magic, you were able to understand the meaning of the words that are spoken to you, but due to the nature of it being a draconic entity, you are not actually able to understand the words that are omitted.
Mm-hmm.
They sound guttural in nature.
So it's like talking to a German person.
The meaning, yes. The meaning, however, comes through as you are annoying. It has insulted you.
I may be annoying, but if you don't improve the way you behave, they will kill and eat you. I'm offering you survival.
If that's your second sending,
Yep.
it will respond once more. And this time, it will just simply say, what would it say?
Let's try get a persuasion roll on this, maybe.
After the second message, it would respond with, before I can trust you, you must trust me.
Okay. I'll go and see it the next day.
Well, you still have a third casting of sending if you want to respond
Okay,
again.
in that case, how do I prove that I trust you?
You tell it a secret.
At this, assuming you are within eyesight of the creature,
Mm-hmm.
it looks directly at you and doesn't give a response. Instead, it just stares at you.
In that case, I will walk up to within range of it.
As you enter the pen and
Mhm.
begin to approach it, it stares at you still. And when you get within about 10-15 feet, you see sparks of flame begin to appear behind its teeth.
Oh no.
What
I
do you
am
do?
going to cast Minor Illusion and shroud myself in flames back at him and grin.
Roll me a performance check.
23.
The flames in the thing's teeth die down. And it just continues staring at you. You swear you see it pull a grin.
Mm-hmm. I'll say out loud, I'm Bobby. We can be friends, yeah? And smile.
There's no response. Instead, it puts its head down and actually turns its head away from you and seemingly enters into a sleeping position.
Cool. I will say at that point, we'll talk tomorrow, and leave. My sending the next day will be, I'm Bobby. I never asked you your name.
You don't get a response. Although, if you do it in person, it does stare at you again.
Do you have a name?
You don't get a direct response. Instead, via the nature of the sending magic, you are almost given implicit body language, if you will, that implies it doesn't understand the question.
That thing that you call yourself and others call you. What do other wyverns like you call you?
That does get a response. And it's a very interesting response. It starts off with guttural noises that don't translate into anything directly, but give a sensation of anger and thought. And then a few words come through. There's dangerous, there's uncontrollable, lethal. Various other words which can be roughly they could be roughly regarded as synonyms for dangerous. But the final word is doomed.
Doomed?
Doomed. Or was that you sending another sending in questioning?
No. I was just checking. I heard you right. Not dude. But doomed. Okay. Dude. I shall.
Dude, where's my wyvern?
Shall call you dude. Dude.
It's a hell of a name for a wyvern, actually.
What, doomed?
Doom danger.
Thing is, a lot of those synonyms, or a lot of those words you use there, a good synonym for them is something like maverick, but that's a little Top Gun for me.
Just a bit.
just a wee tad. But it's a good one.
I mean, I've had E1, M1 in my head since he said Doom.
But yeah, I would say with that, you get the distinct impression that this is a creature that recognizes that it is living on borrowed time and is feeling vengeful for it.
Mm-hmm. Work with me. Free yourself. Become undoomed.
Oh God.
That's right. We're gonna have a wyvern that calls people retard a lot.
Hey, retard! Fucking retard!
That's all I remember from the one video I watched, and it was.
No,
it
it's
was so
a
boring.
moron. Fucking
Undoomed is
moron.
a really good guy. To be honest,
Yeah.
yeah, his videos are pretty high quality as well. But no, he's a really, really sweet guy. IRL.
Yeah. He
He's
was
a
my
professional
gateway.
editor, isn't he?
He is a professional editor. Some of the stuff he's done that aren't laughing at feminism and my anti-woke stuff is some of his other stuff. The stuff he's done on space and various other things are very, very high quality.
Yeah, I
Very
like
high quality.
those.
So, that last conversation
Mm-hmm.
took place on the 5th day.
Okay.
So you've got 6 more castings of sending
Yep.
before we're into real time.
Yep. So, final or second to last day on this.
By the way, during this entire time, I presume that Cardgar has been repeating his sitting down, demonstrating his lack of dangerous intent and showing himself to be a non-threatening entity routine.
Sort of a trust building exercise, unless Bobby's explicitly told Cardguard, no, this is going to mess with your thing.
No, I don't think it will. I think it's good. It's a good idea that it knows that that you in particular are not a threat, seeing as you're one of the more sort of loud, shall we say, members of the gang. If we're gonna free this thing and get it, on our side and maybe have our own wyvern, then it's probably a good idea that it knows that you're not threatening and is okay with you. I think it's too intelligent an animal for that type of thing. That what you're doing there is great for a dog or a cat that has been through some bad shit and doesn't trust humans anymore. In fact, what method you're doing there is ideal for getting a dog to decide that actually humans aren't terrible anymore, and maybe it will have some treats from you, and it'll work within an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or a day or 2, depending on the trauma. With a wyvern, it's a dragon. These things are intelligent. The big dragons are fucking smart as shit. It's going to understand you. But it's basically as intelligent as an orc, possibly more.
Yeah, I mean the approach I was going with is basically a trust building exercise, and he will basically repeat the action every day, unless there is a change in behaviour in the wyvern.
Mm-hmm.
In which case he will vary up depending on what the wyvern does and when.
On the first 2 days, the wyvern largely repeated the same thing that I've already described to you. It consisted of it very closely staring at you. If you brought it any food, it would not eat it. In fact, even when you returned, it would still be just on the ground, probably slightly rotting. But one thing that does change is that starting from the 3rd day and onwards, it basically just acknowledges your presence and then proceeds to not be particularly interested in you. It has stopped explicitly staring at you.
Argyle will continue his reading his book thing, but will occasionally start making small talk. Not necessarily expecting a response, but just saying as I say, small talk type topics, and basically occasionally looking at the wyvern to see if it's acknowledged what he said, to see if its body language is saying, yeah, I agree, yeah, I disagree, or anything like that.
Okay. Good to know. You do get a kind of response. Sometimes when you begin talking, it will stare at you for a few seconds and then go back to largely ignoring you. Sometimes when you begin talking, it will I don't know, best way to describe it is a smoky huff. A small couple bellows of smoke will eject out of its nostrils as it takes a deep and heavy sigh in your presence, but that's really about it.
Well, that's progress, I'd say.
What do you say to it on the 6th day, Trig?
On the 6th day, I'm going to go in there with a saddle. And I'm going to dump the saddle down on the floor and sit on it. Look at it straight in the face and go, I want you and I to get out of here. To ride the skies. Eat sheep. Have fun. Be free. I tap on the saddle. This is our route out. Game or not. And fix it. With a eye to eye looking.
The wyvern looks back at you. And it looks as though it's considering your words for a moment. And you get a somewhat unexpected response, I suspect, as its attention shifts towards Cardgar, and it simply responds, "And what of him?"
He's a friend. We're part of a gang. We want you to join. Be our friend. See the world. Become undoomed. Be free. Whatever. He recognizes doomed. He knows what doomed is. So we're using that as a route. Yes, literally how to tame your dragon memes are very apt at this particular point in time.
Yes, they are.
I guess the dragon's called Undoomed now.
The wyvern takes a moment to think about this. And then it looks towards you and responds through the sending. Make him stop speaking.
I will look at him with an exasperated expression going, I will try, but I've been trying for a long time. He does like talking a lot. And, you know,
And to that the wyvern says, "Yes, but only in meaningless noises."
I'm going to roar with laughter at that.
At the top of his book and raise an eyebrow at you.
I'll go.
Doesn't know what you're laughing at.
He thinks you make meaningless sounds, dude. He wants you to stop talking.
I'll just consider that for a moment and then guffaws in laughter. he you know, after he's finished laughing, he just nods his head and agrees.
The pair of you roll me an insight check. Or actually, no, not an insight check. This would... nature would be far more apt here.
Oh, I'm much better at insight.
I'm lousy at both. But we'll go
And come
with
to
nature.
think of it,
Yeah, let's inspire each other.
Cardgar would have advantage with this.
I'm inspiring Bobby.
I'm going to roll a 2d8. Oops.
With a 23 and a 20. No, 21 and
21.
23.
Mhm.
The pair of you were able to recall a interesting piece of text that you discovered. A particular almanac of dragons that you
God, that thing, yes.
came across over in what the great libraries of Varpak. And the specific piece of information that you were able to recall, triggered by this wyvern getting annoyed at the apparent lack of meaning behind Cardgar's words, is that lesser dragons don't speak common. They could speak, but only in Draconic. So for all intents and purposes, Cardgar has been just babbling in what to you or I would consider to be, I don't know, Laotian or something, or some other incomprehensible language.
A series of clicks, whistles, and durka noises.
Ah, Swahili.
But yes, it's pretty clear from that the wyvern doesn't want you to outright stop making noises, but is annoyed at the fact that you keep babbling nonsense at it.
You know what? I'll take that. The wyvern has determined I'm not a threat to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what Cardgar was going for anyway, even if not quite in that direction.
I don't think this particular wyvern viewed any of us exactly as a threat. In the first place. Let's face it, we're all kind of small, a lot smaller than it is. Is it big enough to ride and fly with a rider on?
A halfling rider, yes, but this is clearly a juvenile of some variety.
Okay.
If Cardgar attempted to ride it, you suspect that it wouldn't be able to take flight.
Right. Okay.
Same goes for any of the medium-sized members of the party.
What if Cardgar attempted to whilst casting Featherfall?
I've got a better idea than that.
Featherfall explicitly doesn't work once you stop falling.
Yeah. There's a better system than that. There's literally Kiki's planar hut thing is something that is basically weightless. That you could all be in, and I could ride the wyvern and take you places. And if you wanted to, you could stick your head out the door and look around. I think that was the sending done for the second to last day. So on the last day,
yes.
I'm going to say, again with the saddle, like, do you fancy giving this a go?
It looks at you, and it seems to take a deep breath in and sigh almost. And then responds with, "Bring company."
Bring company.
Well, less company and more others.
Okay. Are there any of the local the trainers about?
Yeah, there'd be a couple of people just wandering about, tending to other less obviously and overtly dangerous creatures. But yeah, there's a few.
I will give him the the universal wait here for a second signal. Leave the saddle on the ground in front of him and go and see if we can track down Amelia and maybe a chief trainer, and I will explain to them what I've been doing. And if
All right.
Cardgar's around, get him to come
roll
with
me a
me.
d4. If you get a 4, you could find Amelia. Otherwise, you'll just get someone.
No, just someone. That's fine.
Right, so I'd say the most appropriate people that you're able to find are the. You're able to find the lieutenant. He's the one that was originally looking over you whilst you were being investigated.
Yes. I run over there and go, Mr. Tennant, Lou. I need your help. I need some company, and my friend Card Guy, is he around at the moment? I'm going to attempt to put a saddle on the bad boy over there. I've been speaking to him.
He looks at you with a look of confusion, and then it slowly dawns on him what you just said. And then he looks at you with a wide eye of, "Are you insane?" And then says, "Are you insane?"
No, I've been speaking to him.
Right.
I think he'll let me ride him.
He looks contemplative for a moment. And then almost winces as he looks like he's come to a realization and says, "Now that you've told me you're going to do it, if I ignore you, it is technically me being liable for your harm. Come on." And he starts walking towards the wyvern pen. And as he goes, he explains to you that basically, as civilians, it is the people of this barracks' job to make sure that you don't kill yourself on the premises. So he's there to make sure that you're not about to kill yourself on the premises.
Oh, don't worry, I won't be killing myself. If anything's going to be killing me, it's going to be that wyvern over there, and I don't think he's gonna. I think he wants to live. I think he wants to be as free as he can be.
All right, well, if you think you can do it, well, he pauses for a moment and then says, "You got any diamonds on you?"
Diamonds? Oh, yeah, loads of diamonds. I'll just keep them in my pocket right here. Hold on a second. No, I don't have any diamonds on me. In fact...
Do you reach into a pocket and find a middle finger by chance?
As I reach into both pockets and go, no, best I can do is my elephant impression. Do you want to see my elephant impression? No. Well, that's how many diamonds I've got. No, I don't have any diamonds. Why? Got some gold. Why do you need diamonds?
So that if you die, we can resurrect you.
Right, yeah. I've got gold. I've probably got enough to cover it. But we'll be fine.
All right. And he, this last bit of conversation happens immediately outside the pen, and as you walk into the pen, he makes he gestures for you to lead the way. And
Okay.
assuming you immediately lead him directly towards the location, he will enter into the pen with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you immediately see a hostile response from the wyvern.
Mm-hmm.
The wyvern is staring at him specifically.
Yep.
Teeth are bared, and you can see that the barbs on the tail are trying to flick into an active position, but they're not. They're restricted, so they can't.
Okay.
Am I there?
Yeah, I just assume that Cardgar is just sitting there patiently the entire time.
Well, when I see this, do I need to do like any sort of insight or roll to realise that this trainer being there is upsetting Doom?
You don't need to make a roll for that.
Dude,
In
let
which
me...
case, I'll advise maybe he should, stay outside the pen.
No. You asked for company. He's here to help. Work with us. And you and I can be free.
The Wyvern, you hear anger-laced words come through. Observe, do not touch.
I will pass that message along. Walk up to it and offer it my hand. The flat of my hand. Literally like the How to Train Your Dragon bit.
Oh, you're entering the Wyvern's no-no square.
Mm-hmm.
As you hold out an outstretched hand, the Wyvern backs away, doesn't let you touch it,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't make any overt, snapping actions or anything to that effect. It maintains a minimum distance of, an inch or two from your hand.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay there as long as need be.
The Wyvern looks at you. It then shifts its gaze to looking at Cardgar.
Cardgo will meet the gaze and just give a slight nod.
The Wyvern looks back at Trig, at Bobby, and... Give me a moment.
Sure.
I just need to roll a dice from my end.
This is where Bobby has to learn to play the piccolo because he's lost an arm.
Let's see.
So, Trig, I hear girls love a guy with a good scar.
It's okay. It's D&D world.
Does an
Well,
18 hit you?
Does an 18 hit me?
Uh-huh.
It would do, yeah. Hold on a second. Armor class is 17.
Right. You are immediately slapped with its wing. And in doing so, you are turned about and find yourself facing towards the saddle.
Okay. Any
I'm
damage?
going to roll a bit of damage here. You take 7 bludgeoning damage, as it really gave you quite the whack.
Okay. I will dust myself down, look at it, look at the saddle, and I'm going to pick up the saddle and walk towards it.
Oh, God.
As you look towards the saddle, you immediately see Grayson is looking very concerned and looks as though he is a moment away from just charging towards this thing. You can see that his hand is resting upon the hilt of a sword.
I just go, no. Leave this to me.
Ninja, is there all I can do to work out the Wyvern's motive?
Sure, this would be animal handling. Again, you have advantage because of the time you've been spending with it.
I got an 18.
You get the distinct impression that, yes, this thing is intelligent, and it has no intention of showing itself to be a submissive creature.
I will I will turn to Bobby and say, leave the saddle behind. If
Okay.
you're doing it, do it as an equal.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pick the saddle up and I'll throw it into the corner. In fact, I'll pass it over to the Wyvern trainer guy, Lou, and go, here, we're not going to need this. And go back to the Wyvern and go, so, are we going to do this? Or what? Freedom, your
Do you
choice.
see that through sending?
Right now, yes.
It looks towards the lieutenant for a moment. It looks towards Cardgar, and then towards you. And then it looks towards the saddle that you tossed into the corner. And it crouches down and lays its wings to the side.
I'll walk over, I'll put my hand on the side of its neck, flat. Run it down
When you
the neck
do so,
slightly.
there's when your hand touches its neck, you see an almost instinctive, like, baring of teeth and a jutting look back towards you, but it quickly arrests itself.
And just sort of in quiet, easy tones, easy, and I will climb onto its back, as I've been trained to do.
As you go to climb onto its back,
Mm-hmm.
its wing begins to move again.
Mm-hmm.
This time in a less overtly aggressive fashion, as you are quickly lifted up off of the ground, seemingly it knocking you off balance and almost tossing you up slightly as if to give you a hand in getting on.
Okay.
The creature then attempts to stand up to its full height, but is then restricted by the shackles on its head and tail. You will take a look over at the side of the pen and notice that the lieutenant's jaw is roughly several feet off the ground. Off of his face, I should say.
Mm-hmm. I would just stroke the back of its neck a little and go, can we take it out for a walk? To the lieutenant.
The lieutenant looks at you and he is a gulp for a moment and then says, I'll find someone who can talk to you about that. Don't die, he says as he turns and you can hear some very... He runs.
Mm-hmm.
A few minutes pass, during which you are sat upon the back of this draconic entity, and it's looking at you occasionally. You can see its head cranes to the side, and it eyes you up and down just to make sure that you're not dead or something.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be lots of easy and good boy, and I know you can't understand me, but I can only do sending one more time today. We're not going to waste that now. But generally calming voices. Calm. Be calm. We're good. We're doing this, bro.
Well, roll me animal handling.
God. I do have advantage, as you said earlier. Let's see if we can get a 20. Okay.
It seems to be working. The creature seems to be happy to have you on its back, or at the very least is tolerating it. But you can also see that there is occasionally it attempts to move more, and when the chains on the shackles go tight, it occasionally just snarls very, very faintly.
Yep. Not surprised. That's when
I mean,
more easy, gentle.
Trig, you can't communicate verbally, but you do have minor illusion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, that can create images. I'm not quite sure how I would do what I would do with regards to that at this particular point. I'm going to run with just sticking with the animal handling and the generally let's make easy sounds. I know when I create illusory objects for cats, you know, like little red dots that appear on the wall, that tends to excite them a little more than I want at the present moment. The last thing we want is this thing jumping and leaping about, even in play, whilst I'm on its back. I am but a little mere halfling in this game.
You're also currently literally riding bareback on this thing.
Yeah.
Any sudden movement could send you flying.
Any sudden movement could send a spiny freaking bit of wyvern into an uncomfortable place.
Indeed.
Ginger, I want to ready an action, just in case it's needed, to Song of Creation a hay bale or a pillow, exactly where Trig's going to be knocked off into, just in case.
I will say that you can have your you can have your guitar at the ready, and you're just constantly you're strumming through the same several chords that you need in order to be able to actually do it, but you're always skipping that last note just to not complete the thing. So basically, you have a very agitated wyvern, a halfling desperately trying not to agitate the wyvern further, sitting on its back, and a dwarf just constantly guitaring. It's a bit of a sight, especially when an Amelia Whitaker, followed quickly by the Lieutenant Grayson, run in, and Amelia looks at you, sees the scenario, and just shouts, "What the fuck?"
Shh, quiet. Quiet. Me and my boy are having a moment. Now, can we get him out of here? If only for a little bit.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Advantage on this, I'm assuming?
No advantage.
No advantage.
Take inspiration, Trig.
Okay.
I mean, he's constantly strumming his guitar. You may as well have the advantage. The inspiration.
Oh, I'll take that 8.
Yeah, it's a bit better, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes quite the difference, Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah.
Turns an absolutely fuck no to a... Amelia looks at you, and she narrows her eyes, and then she says, "I'll get the keys." And a moment later, she is back again. You can see she attempts to enter the pen, and then stops as the wyvern whose back you're upon has the same kind of vicious reaction to her approach, as she immediately stops and just calls out, "Bobby!" It's dangerous. Look.
Argo will hold out his hands for the keys.
She looks at you and throws them to you.
I will catch them, then I will look at Trig and say, "You still got one sending left today?
One.
Might be worth you explaining to it what I'm about to do. I don't need it jumping on me."
Okay. Hold on, let me think of this. We'll free your chains. Hold still. We'll free your chains. Hold still. This is the moment. We ride now, so you can be free later. Just stay calm.
Well, once Bobby gives Cargo the thumbs up, he will go to unlock the shackles.
Do you start with the head or the tail?
Yeah, front to back.
As you unlock the head, the creature immediately stands up much taller than what it did previously. Bobby, you have to kind of grab on to the shoulders where the wings meet the back in order to not slip off the back of it.
Oh yeah.
And you get the distinct impression that the wyvern very much appreciates the ability to be able to even do that. And then Cardgar, as you presumably go to unlock the tail, the key goes in, the shackle comes off, and as it does so, the viciously multi-barbed section on the tail, it seemingly flexes in an almost sudden move, as in a way that Bobby, you especially would get violent flashbacks to the way in which this thing, its barb suddenly becomes active in a way that makes the scar in your chest ache. But after just a moment, it flexes, it readies, and then it goes back again. And it closes up.
As I do unlock it, I whisper to Bobby, "You better hold on tight."
It's like, yep. That's a given.
So,
I'm gonna give it a pat
fun
on the
fact.
neck. Yep. Go on then.
Fun fact about the pen that you're in. It doesn't have a roof.
Does it have a big open door?
It's open air. There are sheltered sections, but most of it is not sheltered.
Oh.
Which is an important detail because, Bobby, you suddenly find yourself about 100 feet in the air.
I think there would be a fairly loud woohoo and various whooping sounds as I hang on tight, but generally seem to be enjoying myself.
Well, as a matter of fact, roll me an athletics check to see if you are capable of holding on, as this thing violently erupts into the air.
Athletics or acrobatics?
You can't backflip your way onto a dragon.
No, but there's an awful lot of acrobatics involved in holding on to things like that. And athletics, not my strong suit.
I'm afraid this is going to be an athletics check.
Fine.
You're currently riding a creature, and you are its first rider.
Fine.
I would offer you bardic inspiration. if you'd like it.
If I can
I'm
get it.
afraid you're out of range.
Yeah.
Bobby, you get about 80 feet up into the air trying to hold on to this thing's wings, and during a particularly enthusiastic change in elevation, you lose your grip.
Yep.
And a moment later, you immediately find yourself in the grip of the wyvern,
Yep.
as its claws manage to grab onto you without hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else who happens to be in the immediate vicinity see as this wyvern, that's now approximately 200 feet up, just seems to start flying.
Which direction?
It seems to be going towards the mountains.
Well, it was fun knowing you, Bobby.
Yeah, it's fine.
I guess I will I'll round up a Shenka and ride out towards the mountains to try and.
I would imagine.
keep him
Imagine
quiet.
you. The last you'd hear of me is a kind of a woohoo.
Right, is that
Yeah, probably.
Bobby in that wyvern's talons?
You know what, mate? Where is Tyr in all this? Is he going to see this fly over his head?
I would
Well,
imagine.
probably.
Yeah, go on, Tia. Explain what your ranger is doing during all of this.
I'm probably watching from a not watching from a distance, but I'm just minding my own business under a tree with a piece of wheat in my mouth, chewing on it. And then I just randomly see a wyvern with a halfling in its talons flying towards the mountain, shouting woohoo. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, is that Bobby? What?
Yeah.
That's not the usual sound people make when they're being dragged off by a wyvern.
Oh Lord, he's going to get cold very quickly if he goes up there.
I will be fine.
So, I think now is a roughly appropriate time for a quick 5 to 10 minute break.
Yep, sounds
All in
good.
agreement?
More beer? Or some sort of drink?
I have the intention of carrying this session on till around 1:30 o'clock, if you guys are willing. Although
Yes.
we are currently down a Coatrack, if anybody has means to reach him.
Coatrack.
I'll be back in a minute or two.
Groovy. I will get beer or maybe ice cream. It's freaking warm around here.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least it's cool. At least it's cool enough now in my shed.
We're having cats in the house. I can't really open the windows to let a good draft in because at least one of the cats will just go, an open window, gallop across the room, and then just hurl himself out into free space.
Yay, freedom.
Because Faf has. He would get about halfway down the garden, stop, go, grass, like grass, munch, and then realise he's scared and run back in. But he is a lunatic.
Takes after someone, does he?
Yeah. He says, "Come here, you."
Hmm. I do want to have it on record that I have been listening to the How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack for the majority of this.
Okay.
Background music.
Right, I'm back,
Welcome
and
back.
I have successfully bothered a pair of cats.
Ah, yes. We
Also-
also had stuff relating to cats going on. Not bad.
Oh, good.
Well, okay, I should say not bad ending.
Okay.
Did they
They're
show
fine.
up?
It was some like strays that were like stray kittens, whatever. Anyway.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, you should know that Bobby's been kidnapped.
Well, sort of.
Deserved.
Yeah. The wyvern basically took off, threw me off its back, and then caught me in its claws and is now flying off towards the mountains. But hasn't
Yeah, that's a
hurt me
pretty
in the
accurate summary.
process. So I'm not massively afraid at this point in time. Also, I can probably kill it if I need to. Not that I want to.
I've got to say, you've done rather well so far. There has been quite a few circumstances where, if you had done the wrong thing, it would have immediately ended the entire process of making peace with the wyvern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the feeling there were some fairly chunky rolls to do.
Less roles and more just you describing what you've been doing and me deciding, yeah, Wyvern wouldn't take offense to that.
That's essentially what I've been running with, is the how to train an Alsatian method, rather than how to, you know, chill out a slightly poorly cared for pug. Because you know, I would put a wyvern more in the Alsatian category than your standard, you know, mutt. And you deal with those dogs quite as if they're on an equal, as if they're on a level. You build a bond and a friendship.
I'd like to think it was a bit of a team effort, but okay.
Yeah.
Cardgar absolutely did a lot of convincing there. If it had been just Bobby by himself, which by the way it now is, you wouldn't have been able to make that much progress.
Well, speaking of Bobby being up by himself, Cardgar's basically mounted up on Ashenka and gone to track down. If he passes any of the others on the way, he'll let them know. He also shouted to the wyvern trainers to find you guys and let you know and say which way to go. So hopefully we all meet up.
Well, we're going to be separating the session in a moment. So, with that said, is everybody ready to continue? I know I said a 5 to 10 minute break, but I'm happy to get going if you guys are.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Right, well, I'm not hearing any objections, so if you guys... Right, we get back to the session with Cardgar immediately doing what?
Going to find Ashenka, mounting up whilst telling the wyvern trainers to send a message to Piper, Essig, etc. And I've forgotten your character's name. Yeah.
What, mine?
Philip.
Philip Pecker.
Yeah,
Picker.
if they see anyone, in the meantime, I'm going to basically be heading towards the mountains, trying to follow as long as I can keep in sight, and then afterwards just trying to stay on the same line.
Well,
I assume I might end up bumping into Tyr on the way, given he saw them fly overhead.
Well, what happens is you immediately encounter Amelia, who, well, she saw Bobby get carried away by the extremely vicious wyvern, and she says to you before you have an opportunity to get out of the pen, do you think that he will be okay? Can he handle himself?
Oh yeah, he's exploded a wyvern before. I'm if worse comes to worse, but I think we were making progress.
Bobby can still cast Phantasmal Killer if he has to.
That's also true. I was thinking fireball, but
No, I can't do Fireball. I've used my my level 3 spells for the day. I could upcast
Yeah.
Fireball, but why bother when I've got Phantasmal Killer?
that's
Fucking
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm saying that he knows how to handle himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in worse situations, and besides, he's got the rest of us on the way to back him up if needed.
He's also got some
Well-
rapport going off with this wyvern. But yes.
As you say this to the woman, she steps forward to you, puts her hand on your well, basically grabs you by the shirt for all intents and purposes, and just says, "You better be right," and then walks away. And the last you see of her, she is headed straight towards the colonel's office. And
Argon mutters under his breath once she's out of earshot. Well, if I'm not, well, we've got 1,000 in diamonds, so he'll be fine. But I make
Do
sure
you
she can't
say-
hear that.
do you also make sure to say that out of the earshot of Mr. Grayson, the lieutenant?
Yeah, I'm basically whispering it to Shenka.
Shanka gives a noise in response. A noise that you've come to realize typically means words to the effect of "I'm hungry."
Okay.
So, Cardgar,
Yes.
presumably, as you make your way out on Yushenka, who I'm just assuming has been being kept in the stables of the Wyvern Riders.
It would be convenient since we've been training him.
Indeed. To the rest of the party, who would be the first person that Cardgar would come across? Philip has seen Bobby being carried off, but what would Essig and Piper be doing at that moment? Kiki and Cobra?
I getting more money.
Righto. So, more charity shenanigans. Good to know.
Yes.
In that case, it would probably be Philip who ends up spotting Cardgar first. Given that I would presume that the first thing that Philip did upon seeing a suspected halfling being carried off in the talons of a wyvern would be to go to the last known location of Bobby.
So
Well-
I guess I curiously make my way over to the wyvern stables.
Well, as you get out of the stables, you see a Cardgar riding his bear Yushanka, flanked by an Amelia on her armored wyvern. She will have informed you, Cardgar, that she is coming with you just to make sure everything ends up going okay.
I let her know she's welcome to come with her, but she doesn't need to worry.
She can get
You
there a
know,
lot
at this
quicker
point-
than you, dude.
What was that?
I said she can get there a lot quicker than you.
Yes, that's true, actually.
Like,
Right.
Wyvern's probably got, what, 10 times the speed of a bear?
Yes, but do you really want worried Wyvern Rider with trained Wyvern turning up there and possibly instantly attacking your Wyvern?
It'll be fine.
Okay. Well, I guess I could advise her to take the lead then.
Yeah, it would be fine if Chick Bobby wants to shag turns up to rescue him and finds him essentially chilling with Wyvern Bro.
Sure.
Well, the very first thing that she does in that case is she looks towards the mountains, looks towards the town, and sees Philip. And then, Philip, you immediately have an armored wyvern and its rider come charging towards you at speed. Stop a moment before getting to you, and a very assertive woman shouts, "You're coming with me!" As
Really?
she grabs you and attempts to pull you up onto her wyvern. Do you resist?
No. I'm immediately a bit startled at first, but then I guess I immediately recognize her sigil.
Indeed, you would. In fact, you would recognize the fact that this is an army trained wyvern rider, and this is a trained wyvern. You've seen them flying about in the skies many times, though this is probably the first time one of them has directly interacted with you.
And this is Whitaker, right?
Indeed, it is.
So I also recognize her nobility.
Most likely, yes. She pulls you up onto the wyvern, and she says, "You're you're a ranger, right?
Yes. I am indeed a ranger.
A wyvern has kidnapped one of a civilian. I need you to be eyes in the skies with me. We're tracking this thing down."
Yes, sure. Who was abducted?
Some halfling bard, Bobby. Do you know him?
Yes, I know him. He was playing at the Crown the other night.
Good. So you know who we're looking for, right? And she immediately takes off on her wyvern and begins carrying you off vaguely towards the mountains. Tia, I would say roll me your choice of either a perception check or a survival check.
What would be the differences?
A perception check is primarily used for trying to spot things. A survival check is primarily used for natures of for things of the nature of dealing with, well, the wilds. Basically, this is the difference between you outright just trying to spot a very distant wyvern and using your ability, calling upon your knowledge of how to track things to intuit where it might be best to go to.
Well, if that wyvern is flying very quickly, then maybe a survival check.
You're able to quickly come up with a likely location where a wyvern would be most likely to head towards. And you ask if you describe a location with which you yourself are familiar with, and ask Amelia if she is also familiar with this location, to which she confirms that she is.
Yes.
Cardgar. You see as your friend takes off on the back of a wyvern, going in the general same direction as what you saw the wyvern carrying Bobby in. And not long after, you see what I'm going to presume is Essig and Piper in the middle of the street, effectively putting on a miniature performance and raising donations, I'm going to presume.
Okay, I'm gonna wave them over and give them an update on what's happened, and tell them to get their horses, or in Kiki's case, riding dog, and say let's go meet up with Bobby. Sure, he's gonna have a nice story to tell us.
So,
Hang on, he's been kidnapped by a wyvern.
Maybe, or it might be more of a mutual thing. They seem to have a bit of rapport.
You mean mutual? He's also kidnapped the wyvern.
I think it was more of a joyride, shared joyride. I mean, it looked like Bobby fell off.
Oh,
and
I
the
knew he
horse
was doing
saved him.
some indecent things, but a joyride with a wyvern? How's that even work for a halfling?
Well, we can chatter about it.
He's not
or
trying
we
to
can
shag the
come off.
wyvern.
hey, she can't hear that.
I mean, if that's what she ends up believing, sure. I mean, it would add to your legend, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah. Well, currently the tagline for Bobby has been reduced down to Bobby Wyvern Snack Plant.
So, we've had a fair few days here so far now, yeah?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have I been
This-
able to, in this downtime that has been taking place, set up essentially an office for donations to be received for Hertfordshire in this place?
You'd probably be able to get something sorted regarding like having a dedicated corner in either the inn or the bar. But besides that, having like a dedicated shop, probably not unless you're operating it out of the parlor directly.
Fair enough. Well, I will. I mean, there's a place people can accept donations. You said there was a place that donations could be accepted while we were away with registered charities, right?
Yes. You
Yeah.
you,
That's what I'm talking about in this town. I will direct the crowd to said office to hand in any support they can for maintaining our culture, which is now at risk from wyverns of all things. And say, yeah, I guess we'd best go save some of it.
yeah, you get a few particularly concerned women and children go running off towards the crown, where I'm going to make the executive decision and say that you've managed to organize a deal with the proprietors, that being Tom and Elizabeth, to basically have like a dedicated tip jar for specifically the charity. They are taking donations on your behalf as a kind of favor
Fantastic.
to you.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get going. Are we riding that wyvern then?
The wyvern that Amelia was riding has already taken off with a black tier in tow. Philip riding on the back and effectively just helping out with directing the flight of the professional wyvern rider. For the three of you, you have access to your mounts, I presume. As is always the case, Coatrack's horse is just off screen at all times, ready to be called upon at a moment's notice.
Yep, as is the as per the poster.
Yep, I'll reach out and give him a pat and say, "All right, Fizz, I guess we gotta go save Bobby from himself again." And hop on his back.
So, the three of you go galloping off towards the mountains, and as that happens, we move on to what happens with Bobby.
Right.
The very last thing that we covered was you getting thrown off of the back of this wyvern and then it proceeding to catch you in its talons.
Yep.
During this flight, you see the wyvern occasionally crane its neck down in order to get a look at you before continuing to fly. And as it does so, it just continues to fly along.
Okay, I will have fairly rapidly cast comprehend languages on myself. So if anything, any noises and communications it tries to make to me, I should be able to understand the meaning of.
Alrighty.
I can't communicate back to it at this point in time without upcasting sending, and I don't want to do that unless I absolutely have to, because that removes my fallback. Get fucked, I can kill you now, worm. Move.
Has
Yes.
Bobby got his communication thingy on?
I do. I always have my earpiece in.
Fantastic. You'll hear Piper coming through the earpiece then, going, "Bobby, you can't sleep with a wyvern. You'll die."
I'm not trying to sleep with the wyvern. It's okay. He's got me in his talons. We're having a fly to the mountains. He seems friendly enough. We've got a bit of a rapport going. He's good. I think we're okay. But if I need be,
As you say this into
I'm
the
join you in the
earpiece,
mountains, or you know,
I'll try to point out any landmarks. But at the moment, I'm flying. I'm flying, Piper. It's amazing.
as you say this into the earpiece and hold this conversation with Piper over a distance, you hear some words being muttered from the wyvern. They come in low and difficult to quite hear correctly, but you swear the words are something to the effect of more meaningless chatter.
Yeah, I can't let him know. But I'm gonna pat him on his leg in a as friendly a way as I can.
gay.
No touchy.
I'm in the damn thing's talons, so I can't exactly do much else. I'm only a halfling, and my arms won't reach much further than his leg.
So, as you continue to be carried along like a kitten in its mother's mouth, you eventually find the wyvern settling down into a spot in the mountains that looks as though it is the entrance to a cave of some variety. The wyvern comes down to nearly ground level, drops you about 3 or 4 feet, and then quite quickly afterwards lands immediately next to you. Upon landing,
Yep.
it just looks to you.
Okay, I'm gonna upcast rather, sending. So it's my single level 4 spell. And go. Actually, do I get anything for? Do I get an increase in number of? Let's have a look. Can I upcast it? And does it give me a larger amount of vocabulary. It doesn't, does it?
I don't think it does.
No worries. Let's go. I can. Oh, hold on. Let me just work this out because I've got 25 words to do this.
I'm not going to be a stickler for 25 words,
Okay,
so
so
long as you
basically-
don't go rambling.
Yeah,
How much easier in German?
yeah. Last message today. Thank you. That was amazing. They will come for us. Stay friends. Stay calm. We will be free. Don't fight.
The Wyvern responds with,
Oh, and
"You have
also,
trusted."
I
Oh.
can understand you. Your words.
The Wyvern, the Wyvern responds with, "You have trusted me. I will trust you." And it then does something that you recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It puts its wing down to the side and gestures for you to hop on.
Okay. I hop on.
It then walks over towards this this lip of a crag that you find yourself upon, where you can see a fair distance out into the across the land. You can see very distant little specks in the sky, seemingly hovering around this great distant metropolis that is, as far as I know, the first time that you've laid eyes on the great city of Meadowburn.
Hmm. Ooh, can
And
I see
much
the airships
closer.
and the towers?
Those are you suspect that those are indeed the specks in the air that I just described.
Ah. Awesome.
In any case, as you continue to look around upon the back of this wyvern, you see a creature making its way in your direction, glinting in the sunlight as it does so. It's not long before you see a pair of humans upon the back of an armored wyvern, at least twice the size of the one that you yourself are sat upon.
Mm-hmm.
As this happens, you hear the wyvern that you are riding say in its draconic tongue, "Time to see if I die."
I'm just gonna keep an arm around his neck, give him a squeeze, give him, a comforting squeeze, and then stand up on its back and wave and go, "Hey, over here!"
Philip, you are the first to spot the waving halfling on the back of a wyvern that appears to be seemingly naturally camouflaged to the stonework in the area. Give me just one moment. So, as you, Simon, what do you, Simon? Philip, what do you do as you see, as you are the first to spot your halfling friend, or perhaps just acquaintance at this point?
I think I naturally address Amelia and just say, "I think I can see them over there."
Amelia looks back at you and says, with a sound of concern in her voice, "Where?"
Right there. Just in front of the cliffs. They're kind of camouflaged to them.
you see as she looks around, she tries to spot what you are pointing out, and it takes her a moment, but soon she does seem to spot whatever it is that you were pointing at, and immediately you see her enter into a slow glide towards your position, Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's less than a minute before she is landed on a very close by crag to the one that you and your wyvern are currently positioned upon, as she calls over to you. Are you okay? Are you hurt?
Yeah, we're fine. We're both fine. Just had a bit of a ride. We were going to come back in a minute, but glad you could keep up. Nice of you to come.
Dear God, Bobby. You've managed to make friends of a wyvern, I see.
Amelia, you brought M with you. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I didn't exactly have any choice in the matter.
He's my buddy. Yeah, he's a good boy, and yeah, we've had a bit of a ride up here. He's scared. Go easy on him.
Amelia is she's in her military regalia. She's fully armored. She's got the helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
But she quickly takes her helmet off in order to. Well, she takes her helmet off and she looks over at you and she says, "Bobby, that wyvern is the property of the Stradivanian military.
I know.
What do you think's going to happen here?"
Well, if he's not trained properly as a wyvern to be ridden, you're going to sell him for meat, right? So
She doesn't
if-
answer, but you
if
get
he
the
doesn't-
distinct impression there's a yes.
If he doesn't get a rider, he's dead. He knows that.
So
You-
what? Do you intend to steal from the government? Become a fugitive?
I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was just trying to save the wyvern. If I have to, I'll buy him.
You can't afford to buy him.
You don't know how much money I've got.
How much would a wyvern be, by any chance, Whitaker?
She sighs and says, "For a private citizen, one trusted and given permission, at least 15,000. Especially a
Gee.
juvenile."
Well, I don't have that on me right now.
15,000.
We'll talk about that later. At the moment, I can ride him. He'll let me ride him. We'll work something out.
So to be clear, Ginger, that's 1,500.
No.
No, okay.
1,500,000.
Okay. Then I suppose it would be up to the wyvern to make its case.
What are you
Jury.
talking about?
What are you talking about? No, the wyvern doesn't get the choice. It's property. It's essentially a spiky, scaly, angry dog. Thoroughbred flying, angry, scaly dog. But yeah, it doesn't get to make that case. But we'll talk about that later. Let's get him back to base.
I think what I meant was the wyvern to otherwise prove itself to be a worthy flyer.
Yeah, for me.
You could see that there is a look of confliction in her face. And she gets a stern look in her eyes as she calls over to you, Bobby, and says, I can buy him for you. You know what that means, right? Means you'll owe me.
Yeah. How about we talk about this over dinner?
Roll me persuasion check on that one. She immediately, when you say they'll talk about that over dinner, you see a look of exasperation on her face. That immediately shifts into, I don't know what I was expecting. But not in a bad way. And she just calls back, let's get you back to the base.
Agreed. I pat my new friend on the neck and go, come on, let's go.
Amelia calls out a word in a language that only Bobby would be able to understand at this point. It seems to be in a very similar tongue to what you've been hearing the Wyvern speaking in, as she just simply shouts the word follow. And you see as the Wyvern whose back you are riding upon looks back towards you, Bobby.
You give him a nod. Come on.
And
I'll try and repeat the word, but I'll do a bad job of it.
as you do your best to repeat the word, you see as he immediately opens his wings, and indeed, as Amelia's Wyvern begins to take flight, yours follows along.
Nice.
It's roughly at this point that the rest of the party would be able to see as Bobby soars back overhead, this time tailing a much larger Wyvern as he does so.
Slight running commentary going off in Piper's ear of, I'm flying, Piper, it's amazing. I'm flying. This thing's gonna be great. He's amazing. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. I can see so far from up here.
Can you see the Shire?
Well, not quite that far, but there's a lot of mountains, and I think they're the mountains. I think they're the mountains. Which they would be, kind of.
Can we
Yeah, kind of.
Can we fly into stage on a Wyvern?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. It'd scare the crap out of people, but yeah, maybe.
I presume Piper relays information to Cardgar and Essig in regards to what just happened.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be letting Tuggar and Essig know. In fact, guys, he's fine. In fact, He seems to be having fun with his wyvern. We should probably just maybe, I don't know, do some camping. I mean, we've been in a city for a while. It'd be nice to get out.
I'll go. We'll laugh and roll his eyes at that. Just say something about how he knew Bobby would be all right. As for camping out, yeah, he's up for that. You want to signal Bobby to come join us?
You know what? Yeah, Bobby, we're gonna light a fire. We're gonna see if you can bring us like a sheep or something with your new mate, and we'll roast it over a spit out here, and we'll spend the night. Yeah.
I can't. I've got to go back to the base. They won't just give me the wyvern, but I'll meet you back at base, or you can camp out and I'll meet you tomorrow. I've got some explaining to do, I think. Plus, you know that hot wyvern rider, lass?
Right.
Think I'm in there. I'll tell you later.
I take it I am on the back of the wyvern as well.
You're on the back of the
Indeed you are.
the lass's wyvern.
Yeah, the bigger one.
You can't hear me yammering to Piper in hushed
We,
tones. We have like essentially like special forces earpieces, but magic nonsensey earring type jobs. That allows us to talk.
If memory serves, they are for all purposes. You can communicate with each other so long as you're on the same plane.
Yep.
We should probably head back, guys. Doesn't look like he can bring us a sheep.
It's like I was suddenly feeling very sentimental at the moment of being on the back of a wyvern so high up in the sky. I was thinking of playing my bassoon.
As you say this, you hear Amelia just very sharply and curtly say no.
Oh, but Amelia, it would make the town citizens very happy. Can I roll persuasion?
What, as the wyvern eats you?
The bassoon is said to be a very soothing instrument for wyverns.
Go on, roll perception. No, persuasion. This time, she actually twists her back around a little bit and makes sure that she meets your gaze as she says, no.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds like Bobby might be in more trouble with the Wyvern Riders than he is with the Wyvern.
Yeah.
Looks like sounds a bit like he's pinched it.
All I can say is, you're flying through the air, perhaps for the first time, atop a wyvern with a good-looking lass, and all you can think about is pulling out your bassoon. I'm in a place.
In case anybody hasn't yet picked up on this, for all intents and purposes, Bobby has just done the fantasy equivalent of just stealing a military jet.
Yeah, I've just nicked an F-35, fucked off in it, and when the other ones have arrived, going, "What the fuck, dude?" I've gone, "Hey, this is fun." I'll bring it back.
Pretty
now.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what happens next is that you arrive back at the base, and upon touching down in the middle of the general vicinity, not in the pen, Amelia attempts to dismount from her own wyvern and come over to you, and your wyvern immediately snarls at her and is very standoffish.
Yep.
By this point, you would still have your comprehend languages up.
I'll recast it
And-
if I don't. So it lasts an hour, so I can keep casting it a few times.
Well, in that case, you would definitely be able to hear your wyvern. Yeah, it basically told her to fuck off.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go back. He's not happy with you guys. He's very scared. Go easy with him. Go easy with him. I'll walk him into the pen.
Get him in the pen. I can't guarantee his safety if he is not under the correct regulations.
I know.
She then takes a few steps away and raises her hands in a non-threatening manner. And as she does so, the inherent bristliness of your wyvern recedes. And he's now just stood there in the middle of the encampment, not in his pen.
You're gonna pat him on the neck. Come on. I can't communicate with him. What I can do is I can't do Greater Illusion. I don't have that as a spell slot anymore for today.
You hear Amelia shout out in Draconic, "Return!" And you see the wyvern look towards you.
I'll give it a nod and try and repeat the word as best I can. Quietly, gently, as if I'm talking to a friend rather than commanding. Return.
Okay?
Not
The wyvern
softy,
doesn't
but
move.
you know, in a
The wyvern doesn't move. And Amelia shouts the word again, this time with more force. "Return!"
just gonna Amelia, back. Gently. He's gonna pat him on the neck again and repeat the word for return again to him. Return.
Roll me animal handling.
Yep.
This time with advantage. You get the distinct impression that the word return is a command that he has not been taught. He understands the word, but he doesn't know what she's trying to make him do.
I will turn to Amelia and go, do you have a word for pen or house or home? Something like that? I don't think he understands return.
She thinks for a moment. And then she points towards the pen and shouts in Draconic, "Go!" And that seems to work, as without taking flight, your wyvern just starts making its way in that direction.
I'm going to look to her and go, I need some more words. Calming words. Words of, like, good boy, essentially. You know? And friend. And calm.
This is the first time that you've seen a look of concern, not quite panic, but like that she is suddenly at a loss as to how to help. As she calls out, the best I can do is, and then she shouts a word, and the best translation would be approval.
It'll do. And I repeat the word approval by patting him on the neck. Say go again. Approve.
You see a couple of little snorts of smoke come out of his nostrils. You then hear him say, in Draconic, basically, he starts mumbling for all intents and purposes, and the approximate meaning of the mumbling is, I can't believe how humiliating this is.
I give a little laugh. And yeah. Pat myself in the chest. Me too. Same.
Well, it's not long before he has returned to his pen, the same one that you originally saw him in,
Mm-hmm.
and I imagine that it's around this time that your party ends up arriving in the pen as well, with all 5 of you present and able to see that Lieutenant Grayson attempts to enter the pen to reshackle the Wyvern, and upon attempting to enter the pen, you are able to understand the Wyvern making very aggressive overtones towards Lieutenant Grayson, and the Wyvern then directly looks to you, Bobby, and says, I will burn him.
Let's go. No. Lou, stay back. Stay back.
Is he under your control or not?
I don't have the words to communicate with him properly yet. But yes. But stay back.
He takes a deep breath, sighs for a long time, and then says, if you can't get something sorted now, if you can't work some magic, he's going to get sedated and he's going back in shackles. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Dangerous creatures can't be left unattended. Coatrack will be right back.
Be right back, yeah.
He clearly had a dangerous creature to attend to.
Oh, no.
Indeed.
Is it
Why
possible?
don't you just stay with him?
Stay with the
Is it-
Wyvern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he'll be attended.
So, assuming Cardgar, you say this in person, since I've already described how you're all together again. Grayson, he looks at Cardgar for a moment and says, I need to be here too to keep watch. Somebody official needs to keep watch. You are under my guardianship, I suppose you might say. But somebody better go speak to... Somebody better go speak to Corporal Amelia.
Somebody that speaks its language, dragon speak, draconic, whatever it is. I need some help with communication, not commands. We need to talk with this one. He trusts me.
Ginger.
Get me someone that can translate for me, or help me translate.
Ginger, would I be able to rustle up a phrase book?
Through Song of Creation?
Yeah.
I think you could.
Well, I'll do a few chords, and a phrase book will appear just above Bobby's hands and fall into them.
Big thumbs up. Thank you, Kurtgar. You're an absolute legend. And I thumb through the phrase book, and look for first of all the word friend.
There is an infuriating amount of autistic detail describing the linguistic history of Draconic and all of the additional flowery bits of the cultural significance of this and that and so on and so forth.
Yep.
It's only when you get to like the last 10% of the book that it actually becomes useful.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you can tell that Cardgar has made a very effective book for you here.
Okay. So we get to the last 10%, and I go, okay, right, F, friends. So whatever that is, chorus or something.
I think it's melon.
Speak friend and enter.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to enter this one.
No.
You're specifically able to find a piece of phraseology within the textbook that, in not so many words, basically says you are safe.
Yep. That's it. Looking for you're safe. Rest here. Stay here. And I will get you free. I trust you. You trust me.
And
we are going to be okay.
As you say that, the Wyvern points its head towards Kargar and says, I trust him.
Good. So do I.
I mean, I didn't understand that, but can I interpret like figure out that he's saying I'm trusted?
No, I will translate that for you. He trusts you.
Okay. Cargo will nod and I suppose he'll enter the pen and say to Grayson, you got another one here who can help keep watch for you. One less thing for you to worry about.
Grayson looks towards you, Kargar, and he reluctantly lets you enter the pen and doesn't put up any fight. Though you can tell he's deeply uncomfortable with everything that's happening, especially when he sees Bobby, the only person to have ever successfully ridden this particular wyvern, begin walking out of the pen, presumably.
Yep.
I will make a show to the wyvern of sitting down in the pen, but making sure that I am between him and Grayson.
Alright, Amelia's still there, I guess?
Amelia is currently nowhere to be seen, though you do happen to walk past a particularly familiar wyvern in its pen, still armored up. And as you walk along and start asking questions, you are quickly directed towards the colonel's office.
Well, let's head over to the colonel's office then.
What am I doing at this time? I assume I'm just hanging around the place.
Well, that's a good question. What are you doing, and what is Piper doing?
Kiki.
I mean, we're gonna have to head back and see whether Bobby needs any help dealing with the Wyvern Riders.
Well, at this point, Piper, you can be in the base and have been witness to everything that just happened inside the Wyvern's pen if you want. There was a decent amount of time upon Bobby and Amelia landing in the encampment where they were just trying to convince Triggs Wyvern to, return to the pen. So you have the opportunity to be basically anywhere within Nordshire. Where exactly is it that you want to be? What is it that you are doing?
I'm probably going to go back to spreading word for the charity. I really want to work towards that that final goal, and it's not going to get there if I don't put the work in.
Fair enough, fair enough. When you return to the town and start doing more charity fundraising, you are immediately approached by a wide variety of young and panicked girls who immediately begin asking you about, "Where's Bobby? Is Bobby okay? I heard that he got kidnapped."
I am going to, let's see. I'm going to I'll pull out my shawm and play them a tune and sit and spin the tale of Bobby, tamer of wyverns, and his new friend.
You are quickly able to recognize that clearly this collection of women who have all come clamoring around you have recognized you as a friend of Bobby in much the same way that you have recognized them as friends of Bobby. And as a result, I would say if you want to pull at their heartstrings for the purposes of making a bit of extra coin, you won't even need to roll for it.
Fair enough. In that case, I won't bother rolling for it, but that's what I'm doing.
Okay. We'll cover how much money you're able to pull out of these worried young damsels in a bit. For now, what is it that Philip's doing? He's arrived back in the barracks of the Wyvern training facility, and well, basically, you just dumped into the middle of this place as lots of words in a language you don't speak were spoken to various large winged beasts.
Yeah, Draconic. I do not know a word of Draconic, but I'm very incitative, so I guess I'm just observing everything that's going on around me.
Well, it doesn't take a genius to see that this is probably the most exciting thing that has happened within this particular facility in a very long time. And you're able to strike up conversation with at least a few people who are just kind of marveling at the fact that you got to ride on the back of a wyvern with the base hottie that is Amelia. You, upon it being discovered that you were the one that she grabbed to go search for, yeah, you immediately become like the number one guy in the area.
And all this time I'm just waving it off like it is no big deal. Like, I mean, sometimes people just randomly, well, grab me for my services here and there. I don't question it too heavily, other than the fact that, yes, I am happy to assist, depending on the task at hand.
When you specifically use the phrasing, when people grab me for my services, you are immediately able to see that there is a sudden spike of jealousy among the various younger fellows within the cohort that are following you around.
Hmm.
Whether you meant to or not, there was a double entendre there.
Yeah. Do I roll an insight check?
Go for it. There is... To call it a fan club would be to do it a disservice. There's a lot of people who basically chase after Amelia. And the fact that she came to you has made you what is, for all intents and purposes, their number one competition. And a lot of them are trying to gain your favor, and a lot of them are trying to figure out what your secret is.
Well, all I can just say at this point is it just happened to be coincidental fate. Also, being a ranger, you're out and about quite a lot. If these guys really wanted experience, then they better just pick their own bootstraps up and, well, go out into the wilderness, grab a fresh sense of fresh air, and learn from their own experiences. Than living under the shadow of someone else.
As you say these words of wisdom, you see that quite a few of the people end up seemingly being disheartened by the fact that you are just naturally a different person to what they clearly are. And a few of them wander off, with you being able to pick up on one in particular who mutters under his breath, "I'm going to grow out a goatee."
What was that he said?
He said, "I'm going to grow out a goatee," under his breath.
Grow out a goatee.
If you remember your character, Rod. So, with that said, Bobby, you walk into the colonel's office, and as you do so, you immediately see that there is a heated conversation going on between Colonel Kinley and Corporal Whitaker. And this conversation, which was effectively consists of the pair of them, hands on either side of a desk, having a muted shouting competition at one another, immediately halts as the door opens to you. Both sets of eyes stare in your direction and seemingly look for you to say something.
Oh, don't stop on my behalf.
Amelia looks towards the colonel immediately upon you saying that and says, "This is the person who was able to take one of the most unresponsive and vicious creatures that we have ever had the displeasure of keeping on this facility, and he managed to spend a week with it, and suddenly it's flying and even catching him in the air.
Yeah.
How is this not an opportunity?" To which the colonel responds, "It's not my place to be able to just simply permit people to be able to buy military equipment." If you want to cut in, you can.
Colonel. Am I right in thinking that very soon that piece of military equipment was likely to end up as a series of very tasty but unfortunate steaks on people's plates?
The Colonel looks annoyed at the fact that you just laid out the situation the way you did, but then after a moment says, yes, you would not be incorrect in saying that.
He doesn't need to be. He's a good boy. He's scared. And he's been lashing out because he's scared. He trusts me. He trusts my friend. And I trust him. He dropped me off his back and caught me in his claws. I have not one scratch on me because of that. He boffed me over the head with his wing, but it was essentially a playful pat. He landed and put me down and let me get back up on him, and we have flown together without a saddle. He has a future. Probably a pretty great one. I'm not saying...
One correction.
Go on.
Amelia cuts in. Twice. He rode it twice.
Yeah.
It was not a fluke, Colonel. At this, the Colonel looks irritated. And then looks directly towards you and says, this is a situation that you have to bear in mind is going to be extremely difficult and complicated.
Okay.
This is not just a creature. Yes, it is a creature, but it is not just a creature. This is an asset of the Stradivarian military. Private owners of wyverns are not permitted, not without excessive oversight, and most importantly of all, a license. One that cannot just simply be bought, one that must be earned.
Okay. How do I earn a license? I'm assuming this is the right place to earn a license, yeah? So, the only real issue here is whether or not the Stradivarian military is capable of writing off a couple of £100 of spoiled meat.
No, I'll tell you what the issue is. The issue is that you are not military.
No, of course not.
At this, his expression changes as he nods his head at you as if he wants you to say something.
We could be, though. You are familiar with some of the songs and performances we've been putting on recently.
Yes, I was personally witness to them. They were very good.
Some of those could be construed as essentially propaganda pieces for join the military, etc., and how good the military is. Recruitment drives, etc., would benefit from having a bardic influence. Let's face it, a rough old war-torn sergeant standing at behind a desk telling people why they should join the military is probably not the best way of drumming up the best and brightest out there. I can help with that. Give me a commission, get me the license, and I will do everything I can to boost the Stradivarian military everywhere we go, on command. If you tell me to go somewhere, we will go there, and we will help recruit. And what better way to recruit than to have the recruiting team rock up gloriously on a wyvern? How badass is that?
Over the course of what you just said, The Colonel's expression went from a slight smirk of you should be about to say something that he agrees with, to a look of aggravation and exasperation as he says, "You just don't get it, do you?
No. Spell it out.
There is one circumstance in which you will be allowed to own that wyvern, and that is if you are a member of the Stradivarian military."
Yes, that's just what I just said, wasn't it?
Not as a recruiter, not as anybody who goes gallivanting about the lands, somebody who is a wyvern rider.
Okay.
If you want that creature to be under your care, you need to become a member of this military force, just like anybody else. Work your way up through the ranks. You will be put on missions. You will be given responsibilities. You will be given... Looks to the side. You will be given responsibilities to the state. And until that commission is over, the wyvern will be yours to care for.
Okay.
Let me spell it out for you just a little bit more clear.
Sure.
You will become effectively property of the military, just the same way that wyvern is. If you're given orders, you will accept them.
Okay.
Are you sure you're willing to go through with that?
Let's be honest, Colonel. I am not what most people would call soldier material. I have difficulty picking up a chair. I'm not strong. I am not tall. I have a certain set of skills, however. One of which is I'm good with people. I'm good with animals. I'm good at communicating. I'm a bard. I sing songs. I tell tales. I make people laugh. We have fun. People get on with me. I am very happy to put those talents to use with the military. And I'm very happy to go and explain my case to the highest of your military. What I'm saying is that if you want me to run around and salute and shout yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir for years whilst in the army, that is not the best use of my talents. Best use of my talents, best use for you, for your army, is to let me do what I do. We have a band. We are a very, very good band. We're good at what we do. But if you want us to march around on a parade ground, that's not what we do. I'm good at, apparently, taming problem wyverns. Ones that are going to be basically discarded and thrown away. I can take the discarded, thrown away, the ruined, that which would be ruined by the army, and make it useful. There's an arrangement to be had here between you and I and the state and the king. Put me in front of him. I will talk to him about this. I can be far more used to the military doing what I do best than just you having a tiny little halfling wandering around in silly little tin armor, being essentially a point of people pointing and laughing. I don't look sensible. I don't look good in armor. I would be an object of ridicule. I don't stand at attention. don't think I would work as a soldier. You know that in your heart. If you don't know that, you really shouldn't be a colonel if you don't know that I am a terrible soldier. You just look at me. Look at me. I come up to your knees.
All right, you can stop talking now. He stops for a moment in contemplation. He then pours himself a very large glass of whiskey and downs it. And says, "You and your friends need to go to Meadowburn. There, you will be able to communicate with my friend, General Melchett."
Really, General Melchett?
He's a recurring character in this setting, don't you know?
Tommy has a staff officer, darling.
Maybe.
Fantastic.
I cannot tell you what he does. For if I were to do so, that would be considered a violation of military protocol. What I can say is that if you can convince him, you'll get your wyvern.
Okay.
And it will be yours. Not on license. Not as a matter of you simply using state assets. That wyvern will be yours. Melchett is not a man to be trifled with.
So many jokes. No, of course not, sir. Right, yes, yeah. General Melchett. I can't believe we've got a General Melchett. You, Blackadder. Right, yeah. No problem. I will speak to him. In fact, if you like, I'll fly over there as soon as we can. We'll bring Amelia with us, so we've got a winged escort.
The colonel looks to Amelia and says, "I can make that happen. Can you?" And she looks towards you, Bobby, and then looks towards the colonel and says, "Yes, I think that's a good idea." Thank you, Colonel.
Great, thanks, Colonel. Looks like I've got some Draconic to learn. Pulls out his new phrase book and starts flicking through it.
Amelia strikes a salute at the colonel, walks out of the room, and pulls you along with her.
I'll point my hand up and try to shake his hand in a slightly comical, or not quite Sig Heil, but it would have to be almost a Sig Heil to just reach up that high. Shake hands.
Unfortunately, he's not within reach. But,
right. Okay. Fine.
You do see he visually acknowledges it.
I will turn it into a polite wave and a smile, and and leave after following after Amelia.
After pretty much the moment she gets you out of the colonel's office and the door closes, she immediately slams you into the wall, puts her hand onto the wall right next to your head, kneels down and says, "Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?"
I was like, I don't know, but this is so hot right now. And grin.
She immediately looks up, bites her lip, and kisses you.
Scores.
And then after a moment, she stands back up again and says, General Melchett is a man who is in charge of... No, I can't say that. This might be the last time we see each other. I hope you know what you've done.
I just went for a ride on a wyvern. It'll be okay.
Yeah. I personally would quite like to call an end to the session, though.
Fair enough.
It is, after all, nearly 1 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I feel like I've dominated that one quite a bit as a session.
Yeah. Sorry to the rest of you.
Got
It's alright.
some serious asset in the process, I think. Or nearly.
Yeah, are you talking about the wyvern or your new girlfriend?
A bit of both.
Yeah. So basically, you stole a jet, got into a conversation with somebody who was really pissed at the fact that you stole a jet, had somebody who had a lot of sway within the military pull a lot of favor in order to prevent you from being done for stealing that jet,
Mm-hmm.
and are now on a collision course with a man who every indication so far has told you will probably be the death of you and all of your friends.
Yeah, or he's Spec Ops or whatever. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll just put on a
I
nice concert when we get there.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that next session is going to be very, very entertaining. I have a feeling that
Yay.
you are all going to very much like the character of General Melchett, or at the very least the version of General Melchett that exists within this setting.
You better be doing a General Melchett impression.
Ah, yes, General Merchant. Who is this, Bobby?
Right.
He's almost as sane as I am. Meh!
Barking mad Melchett. Right. Smashing. That was great. I think with this point, should we hit end to the stream? We will
I'd say so, yeah.
Yes.
bid our viewer a good night.
Good night.
And yeah, catch you all next week.
Good night, everybody.